live every other week to discuss the world of data science, AI, and machine learning. And we chat about unique experiences and best practices with leading data professionals in a 15-minute break. And I'm Anna, the founder at DSS. And today I'm streaming directly from our headquarters, which is located in the heart of Miami, just a few blocks away from the design district. And today we're honored to host Anmol Agarwal, a forward-thinking security researcher at Nokia, focusing on cutting edge of cybersecurity with the dynamic realms of 5G and 6G technology. With a foundational background that includes a doctoral degree in cybersecurity analytics and a master's in computer science, Anmol brings an exceptional depth of knowledge to this conversation, and I'm really excited to chat with you about this because, as I mentioned, I don't really know much about this topic of 5G and 6D tech. So thank you so much for joining us today, Anmol. It's really, really great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So today we're going to navigate through the evolving challenges and opportunities in securing AI and machine learning technologies, and really emphasizing on nuanced applications and limitations of AI, of safeguarding our next generation networks. So that is quite, it's going to be quite a conversation. So I'm really interested to first learn about how did you get into this quite complicated position that you're in? What is your journey and what got you interested in data science and engineering in the first place?
So I actually was initially interested in engineering because of the university. So in the past few years, there's been an influx of AI news articles and engineering. And at the university I was in, they focused very much on hackathons and on AI. So that kind of sparked my initial interest. And then I decided I wanted to look into that field more. And then I realized I really wanted to go down this path because I attended a few conferences, so a few IEEE conferences, a few industry conferences, and that really inspired me to pursue adversarial machine learning and AI.
Cool. No, that's a really great journey. Thanks for sharing. And the next question I have for you is, with AI often hailed as the universal solution, could you discuss a little bit its real strengths and limitations in cybersecurity, especially when it applies to 5G and 6G networks?
Yeah, so when we talk about AI, we tend to think of it as a magical solution that can accomplish everything and anything. But actually, AI is really just for data analytics. So think of AI like a tool that you use to analyze all of this data. So in that way, AI can be very useful when you want to see trends or patterns within your data sets. But one limitation with AI and with machine learning is it's only as good as the data that you give it. So in AI, we often talk about the concept of garbage in and garbage out. So if you have garbage input data, you won't get good predictions from your models. So that is one limitation with AI. And when we talk about using it for cybersecurity, AI can be used in a wide variety of contexts. So when you think of cybersecurity, you probably think of someone hacking in to the device, hacking into the network. They show that in the movies a lot, right? The hacker with the binary green digits hacking into the system on their screen. But so you can actually use AI to prevent these types of attacks. It's called intrusion detection. So sometimes AI can be used to detect these intrusions or these attempted hacks into your network. And what it's doing is, again, data analytics. So we know that certain attacks can correspond to certain events, which means our data looks like a certain type of signature. And based on that, AI can detect that attack and alert on that attack. So that's one example of cybersecurity and AI. And AI and cybersecurity are definitely complementary. So there's a lot of data in cybersecurity. There's a lot of data needed for AI.
Right. No, that sounds like for sure they're complementary. And how does adversarial machine learning impact the security of AI system, and what measures can be taken to migrate these risks? It seems like there's a lot of risks, especially now that, everybody's using AI for everything.
Yeah, so adversarial machine learning is the study of attacks and defenses against machine learning. So it's basically studying the different types of attacks on machine learning as well as how to defend against them. So there are so many different kinds of adversarial machine learning attacks that I could talk about for hours, but just at a high level, there's one attack called a poisoning attack. So it's like how it sounds. You're poisoning the data itself. So
Mhm.
in data science, in machine learning, when we have this training data, we can poison the data itself. Think about an insider threat. Someone can access your system and just poison that data. And then from that, your model will learn incorrect information and therefore it will give you incorrect predictions. So that's one kind of attack. And there's a lot of research going on right now in terms of mitigation. So for poisoning attacks in particular, there's this concept of outlier detection. So this is not perfect, but what we're trying to say is we assume that the poisoned data points or the poisoned training data samples are outliers compared to the rest of our data set. So if there are outliers, we try to remove them. But again, it's a growing field of research.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. Thanks for sharing. And could you please explain the role of federated learning in enhancing privacy and security in AI applications a little bit for people, especially myself? I'm not very familiar with it either.
Yeah, so actually, I studied federated learning as part of my doctoral dissertation. So that's why I can talk about this. But federated learning is something that's actually going to be used in 6G. So just for those who are not aware, 5G and 6G are used for telecommunications. So it's what enables us to even have this conversation right now. It's what enables us to call people all around the world. So all of that is 5G and 6G technology, and that's using federated learning. So
Awesome.
federated learning is supposed to be a privacy preserving machine learning framework. So it was initially proposed by Google in 2016. And the idea with federated learning is so in traditional federated learning, we have a network of mobile phones and a server. And these mobile phones are basically communicating data to the server, but except they're not communicating data, they're communicating updates to the machine learning model itself. So instead of having the server be attacked and access all of your data just from attacking a database, we're storing all of the data on a mobile phone. And in reality, there are millions of devices, right? So
Yeah,
to actually access this data, it's going to be much harder to hack into a million devices versus just hacking into one server. And in
right.
traditional machine learning, they would just have all the data stored into one server.
Cool. No, thanks so much for explaining that so well. And what would be the key challenges in securing AI and machine learning technologies today? And how do you approach these challenges in your work?
So I think one main challenge with AI and machine learning is a lot of people are getting really excited about the possibilities with this technology. And a lot of times we overlook the security aspects, just speaking in general terms. So one challenge is, which I do in my job, is we need to design security within machine learning and within AI from the start. So
Mhm.
my job is actually something called security standardization. So all this 5G and 6G technology, before it actually goes to an operator, before it goes to someone like T-Mobile, AT&T, this technology needs to be standardized. And my job is to basically see, okay, in 6G, we want to enable the metaverse. How do we do that? What AI are we using? And then what are the security implications of that? What attacks could occur? And how do we mitigate those attacks? So that's kind of what I'm doing right now in my job.
That's really cool. That's very interesting. And no, thanks for sharing. And as an advocate for increasing diversity in tech, What strategies do you believe are the most effective in encouraging more women and minorities to pursue and remain in not just cybersecurity, but just in general, technical careers?
I think one challenge that we face overall is I can speak for myself. Growing up, I never thought a woman like me could ever be in tech because we often associate tech as a male dominated industry. When we look at movies or TV shows, the hacker is typically depicted as a man who's very introverted, always in his basement all the time with millions of computer screens around him. And I looked at that and I said, there's no way I want to do that because I like being around people. So actually, I think it really helps having more role models in tech so that women and minorities can see that they themselves could also be in tech. There's not just one job, not only within cybersecurity, but within tech. So within cybersecurity, there are so many different roles. There's not just the hacker, there's also the defender, there's also the architect, there's also the designer, the developer. So there's so much. There's even policy and governance and risk. So much in cybersecurity. And there's so much in tech, right? There's not only data science, there's also, robotics. There are many different advances. And all of these different types of jobs require different skill sets. We all can learn from each other and we all have something to contribute to the field. So I think the key aspect is having more role models and encouraging them to give tech a try.
No, that's a great answer. And I 100% agree with you because, yeah, tech is, it hasn't been the friendliest field. And that's why, one of our missions at DSS here is to elevate more women to be, part of the conversation. So it encourages more younger people to join the field too, you know?
Yeah, that's very
So,
important.
no, it is because I think that also goes back to the whole thing where, there's bias in data and if you don't have diversity in the whole industry, right? So, and that could get
Right.
pretty scary. But looking ahead, what emerging threats and opportunities do you see in the intersection of AI and cybersecurity? I mean, I feel like it's such an interesting field now, and there's just so many things happening, and especially for the wireless technologies.
So when we talk about 6G, which is something I'm working on right now, just to give the audience a background, 6G might come out in 2030 in terms of the standardization, right? So that's a long time. And right now, what we're doing is imagining all of the possibilities. So a lot of times at work and in the media, you can see we're talking about this idea of the metaverse. So instead of us interacting on this kind of Zoom type call, we would be interacting as avatars and we would be interacting with the world as avatars. I think I've seen a few movies like that. Like people are in their own rooms and they're wearing those virtual reality goggles, right? And then they're interacting with the world that way. So maybe when 6G comes out, we'll have that kind of as a reality. And we might have holograms, we might have self-driving cars, we might have all this new technology. And another key trend that I see is something called digital twins. So
Hmm.
digital twins are basically, we have a digital simulation of the system. So for example, when we're talking about critical infrastructure, we have something like a power grid, and we would have a digital simulation of that power grid as well as the system itself. And the digital twin is basically a simulation. So we could say, what happens if I attack it? What's going to happen? And we can use that to provide mitigations in real time.
No, that's really cool. So yeah, so you can actually prevent those attacks and test everything out.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel like this second world, I mean, there's what is that thing called Second Life or something that's been around for like 25 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's been around, but I guess we haven't fully emerged into it yet. So we'll see. Maybe by 2030, right? More people will be on there. But one last question, just a quick advice that you would have. We talked a little bit about diversity and getting more women into the space, but just in general, what about young professionals that are really eager to kind of make a mark on AI and data science, it being such a hot field now.
Yeah, I can identify with those young people because I was one of those people. So I think my advice is focus on what it is that interests you, right? What do you want AI to accomplish? So from a cybersecurity field, maybe you want to develop a AI enabled intrusion detection system. So then just try to research, how do you actually do this? So there are many different resources online that actually teach you these concepts. So one is called Kaggle,
Yep.
which in case you haven't heard of, right? So Kaggle, spelled Kaggle. You can just Google that and you'll see it has all of these data sets, all of these tutorials and competitions that you can actually participate in. And I also recommend learning Python and learning R in terms of programming. Again, there are so many online resources to learn that. Coursera, they have, Coursera, Google Data Analytics certifications, Coursera, they have just tutorials points, so many different resources. So I think those are my two main pieces of advice is figure out what interests you and then develop the technical skill set.
Cool. No, that's great advice. And thank you so much for sharing it. And also thanks for so much for spending time with us today, Anmol. It was
Thank
really
you.
nice to chat with you. And I'm really excited to meet you in person next week. I can't believe that it's already next week. Anmol is going to be joining us on a panel session on Wednesday. So, yeah. And I hope the rest of you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. And thanks again so much for joining us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.